Good morning, folks. Welcome to the Network Learn Connect event. I'm just waiting for Ellen to come live with us. Ellen is going to be presenting this seminar on creating content that converts on LinkedIn. Here she is. Good morning.
Hang on.
Can you hear me now, Ellen? Is that better?
I could hear you before, Mark, and now I can't.
No, you can't. Bizarre. But look, we're live in front of your audience, Ellen. I'm going to leave you to it. I'll just let you crack on. So if you can take us through your presentation, that would be good.
If anyone is here and they're in the chat, if they just put in the discussion that they can hear me, because I couldn't hear Mark there when he was talking, so I'm hoping that wasn't. Okay, great, Alex, thank you. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine. I just panicked because I couldn't hear Mark, so I was thinking that maybe you guys couldn't hear me. So yeah, thank you very much. I can see quite a few people are here, so that's really exciting. You might have heard me talk before because I've done a bit of a tour of the Network B2B groups over the last year or so about LinkedIn. But if you haven't heard me before, or even if you have, a lot of this is updated because I am going to be talking about LinkedIn, and LinkedIn changes like every week. What works, what doesn't work, how to make the best of it, and stuff that I have said maybe 6 months ago isn't the best practice now. So what I'm going to do is share my screen. Hopefully you'll be able to see my slides. Oh, that's great. And you can still see me as well. That's fab. So what I'm going to talk about today is how to create content on LinkedIn that converts. So what I talk about mostly is lead generation from an inbound perspective. So creating good posts on LinkedIn that people, people see your post, they start to associate you with your service or your product, and they get in touch with you. I don't talk about outbound sales, so I don't talk about messaging people or reaching out to people. This just because I'm a marketer, and I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm always talking about the inbound approach. So before, a bit of housekeeping first, there is a Q&A. There's also the chat. If you put questions in the chat, I'm sure I'll see them as we go. I have uploaded all of my slides already to the handouts because there's quite a lot of information on some of the slides. So you can just download them and have them as a PDF instead of just sitting writing notes frantically. I haven't put a poll this time, so yeah, just chat in the chat or pop something in the Q&A. I think that's easy enough to do. Right, so in the session, I'm going to cover some of the basics about LinkedIn. It's difficult when obviously it's a lot of new people because some people have never used it before, some people use it every day. So I do try and cover just some of the basics so that I'm not immediately alienating anybody. But generally, I do talk about content and posts on LinkedIn more than profiles, but I do a little bit of housekeeping at the beginning. I'm going to talk about the LinkedIn algorithm, how to get seen in the news feed. You'll know when you post on LinkedIn, it says how many people viewed your posts and just things to watch out for, best practice, things like that. And then at the end, if I've got time, I've got a writing prompt. So this is just useful for you guys to go away and have at least one post to, use on your news feed, or maybe it'll inspire a couple of posts. We'll see how we go. You can take part if you want. You can share in the chat what your answers are, or you can just keep it to yourself. That's fine as well. Brief bit about me. I am a copywriter and web designer. I call myself a freelancer, but there's actually two of us in the business. It's myself and my partner, Craig, who you might have met if you're in the Newcastle group. I'm in the North Tyneside group. But I used to work in social media and PR. And when I was in that role, I did a lot of training with people on LinkedIn, and I also produce a lot of content on LinkedIn, so you can connect with me as well. I'll actually at some point after the end of the chat, I'll put my link to my profile so you can connect with me on there if you're not already. A lot of probably a higher stat than that, but a large proportion of my revenues come from inbound leads. So that's where people have messaged me and said, oh, hi, Ellen, I see that you do copywriting. Can you help me with this? And then I've also got a small product that I'll talk about at the end, which is like a monthly membership for a really small fee. And you can kind of get webinars like this. I do one a month. And we also have newsletters, and there's also a private LinkedIn community. So for people who want to kind of get that accountability and know that they need to do it regularly, because the thing about LinkedIn is that consistency is the most important thing, and you have to keep posting consistently in order to see results. So What do I mean by inbound leads? It's really small. Hang on. If I turn my camera off, you'll probably be able to see this a bit better. Oh no, now I've just gone. If you press expand screen, you'll be able to see, yeah, a little bit better what I'm trying to say. It's quite small, but here on the left is just examples. These are just messages that I've had in the last couple of months from people. It's like, hi Ellen, I've been struggling. I need to catch up with you. And sometimes it's people that I've already met in like past lives. So whether I've worked with them in a past role, I've volunteered for them with, I think, and it's often animal related volunteering, or they don't know me and they've been referred to me by somebody else. The thing about having, you just need to, if you can't see, but press expand screen. It's not too important. It's just messages that people have sent me that say like, hi Ellen, I need help. So don't worry if you can't see it most of the time. And also you can download the handouts as well, so you can see it closer up, but it's not any kind of information that you need to know immediately. It's just stuff like, hi Ellen, I was wondering if you could help me with a website. So the thing about this is that LinkedIn is a place where people can find me really easily. They know that I'm online, they know that I'll reply. And it's just really, really helpful to have that place where you can be contactable, because sometimes people will be more likely to message you on LinkedIn than send you an email out of the blue. So yeah, it's about using LinkedIn as a way to position yourself as an expert in your field and make your product or service something that your audience absolutely needs. So here's a little bit about profiles. What I am going to do is, if I turn off, someone can let me know in the chat, if I turn off my camera, does it make my like slides more prominent? No difference. How frustrating. Okay. There should be a thing to shrink myself. Sorry about this, guys. I'm just working out how to make myself less prominent. I don't know if Mark's still here. I'm assuming that he's disappeared now. Just wondering if I can make myself smaller. Yeah, that's fine, Sean. Yeah, if you've got the handout, it's just a PDF. You can just move along with that. Some of the stuff is bigger than other stuff. I don't know why my face has to be so big and the presentation has to be so small, but if I turn my camera off, all it does is just make me small, and there's no make myself smaller button. So, oh, I've done it. There we go. Now, hopefully you can still hear me. Yep, fab. Okay, you can still hear me, but you can see the presentation a lot bigger, and I'm tiny. So a little bit about the basics. You'll know if you've used LinkedIn before, it has this kind of little measurement of how filled out your profile is, and it kind of seems a little bit like, why should I bother making it all-star? But in reality, actually LinkedIn has actually said that if you have an all-star profile and you post regularly, your content will be seen by more people. So it's not just a vanity thing. Like, it is really, really important to go and get your profile to that level. This is just the free version of LinkedIn. I don't use the paid version. I just use the free version. And all you have to do is make sure your pictures are filled out. You've got your cover photo, you've got your description, you've got a little bit in your education, a little bit in your current role, and if you've done volunteering and stuff like that. So it's just about making sure that your profile is filled out until it says it's all-star length strength. And it's really important to do that because, like I say, when you do post, the all-star profiles are prioritized. So, okay. And I mean, I could talk all day. Lots of people have got really put a lot of focus on the headline. And you'll see some people have been saying in the last couple of years to change your headline to something like helping businesses to blah, blah, blah. And not using your job title. But my argument for that is that people do find me via my job title. So people will they'll type in the search bar, copyright in Newcastle, and I've had someone reach out to me from that way, or web design in Newcastle. So if you're not putting your job title in your just in your main headline because you're focusing on something a bit more fancy, like helping businesses to develop their online presence, you might not be coming it for search terms around web design, for example. So I would say that it's fine to have an extension of your headline and make it a bit more interesting. So this is a little formula that I say, you know, what you do, how you can help, but still put your job title at the front. That's my argument for it, because if you don't put it there, I do see ones which are like helping businesses too, la la la, and I'm like, so what do you actually do? And I just think if you've got a job title, or, you know, if you're a copywriter, web designer, videographer, photographer, accountant, it's just good to have that in there. That's very basic stuff about the profile. Now what I'm going to talk about is posts. This is like the bread and butter, and this is where the inbound leads come from. Lots of this stuff changes all the time with regards to the algorithm, and I don't want it to get too complicated or too, you know, in depth about like how to write posts that get seen by this many people. But really, it's all about authenticity. And I know that that's a word that marketers throw around a lot, but you got to share your story. So if you work for yourself, or you have, you know, a senior role in a business, or you represent a business, you've got a story about how you came to do that role. And often that's the most interesting thing about it. It's not what you do every day and the boring bits. It might be, well, I trained to do this and now I do this. And that's where your audience can connect with you and start to see you as a, you know, a real person that they can feel comfortable reaching out to for your service. So depending on, you know, if you work for yourself, you've got a lot more freedom around how you can come across. You can be, you know, funny, sarcastic, or you might be serious, but you might be very informative or data driven, or just have a little bit of time thinking about how you want to come across. And it has to be something that's very real and that you can maintain for a long period of time. So I tend to post, sometimes I'll be, you know, a bit sarcastic, or sometimes I'll be a bit thought-provoking. I like to ask a lot of questions, because questions are a great way to get people to interact with your posts. And I'll talk a little bit about more why that's important in a minute. Don't overload with information. So you'll see lots of posts nowadays are split up into bullet points. You can use emojis as a bullet point, or you can just use like asterisks. Good way to get emojis really quickly if you're using it on your desktop is to press the Windows button. This is if you're on PC. I know there is a way on Apple, but I don't have a Mac, so I'm not sure what it is. But you can Google it. If you hold down the Windows button and you press full stop, it'll open an emoji keyboard. And that's like revolutionized I just put like an emoji in the chat so you can see what I mean. Oh, you can't use emojis in the chat. Oh, there. So yeah, you can, it's really, really good, because you don't have to like do everything on your phone if you want to, you know, use emojis in posts. Some businesses don't like emojis, but I think some of them can work quite well. Even just like the little circle ones. I could talk about this. These guys work great as bullet points, especially if you have brand colors and they fit with your brand colors. So you can use those as bullet points, and it just makes your post stand out a little bit more. Yeah, that's like a fun little tip. Hashtags is something that really confuses people. A hashtag is just like a marker for your piece of content that LinkedIn knows what it's about. And don't put, when I say put hashtags at the bottom, the best formula is to write your post. At the end, LinkedIn will probably read your post using its AI and suggest some hashtags, or if it doesn't, just put your industry or what it's about. So hashtag copywriting, hashtag freelancing, hashtag entrepreneurship, hashtag web design, hashtag SEO. They're all kinds of ones that I would use. Only use 3 minimum. Between 3 and 5, I think, is the recommendation. More than 5, it thinks it's spam. I wouldn't put hashtags in the middle of text, because it's not accessible, and it looks a bit spammy, if you know what I mean, where people just use too many hashtags. So just 3 at the end of your post and then move on. It's important to do it because LinkedIn has said that it prioritizes content with hashtags, even if the person didn't come to the content via the hashtag, if that makes sense. As the same on Facebook and Twitter, if you mention someone, at them. But LinkedIn has said that if you at people and that person that you mentioned doesn't interact with the post, you might be penalized. So, you know, you couldn't just be like at Joe Biden, because he's not going to interact with your post. You have to at the people. You have to at someone that, you know, you've actually worked with, whether it's a client, a colleague, you know, a fellow freelancer. How do you do the emojis? It is the Windows button and then full stop at the same time, and it opens a little keyboard. Richard, hopefully you'll be able to do that. The last point that I want to make is the quicker you get an interaction or comment, the higher your post will rank. So people do try and cheat the system, and I don't I don't cheat the system. This is just something that you need to think about writing good content that people are going to want to respond to. Within the first hour of your post, so you put a post on LinkedIn, and within the first hour, your LinkedIn post will be served to a small percentage of your audience. And yeah, Martin, I used to use Emojipedia, and I also used to use like a similar website and just copy and paste them before I realized that the keyboard existed. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the chat. Yeah, so I used to, yeah, you post within the first hour, your post is served to maybe 10 or 20% of your followers. And if I posted and I got 10 comments and 10 reactions, then LinkedIn would know that that's a good quality post, and then it would serve it to more people, and then serve it to more people. So if within the first hour you're not getting a lot of traction, it's probably not going to do particularly well, but that's okay. That's like totally fine. I think you need to think that even if a post is kind of falls flat on its bum and only gets 10 views, it's a learning curve, because you know that maybe that wasn't the right kind of thing to post about, or it didn't work. Not every post is going to go like quote viral. I've got some examples of some posts of mine that have done quite well recently, I think. Yeah. So this was one that I posted about how obviously I work as a copywriter professionally, and generally I write for brands on their websites, emails, sometimes social media, rarely offline copywriting, more online. These are some of the weird things that I've written about in the last couple of years. I've written about pet cremations, I've written about escorting, gin, beer gardens, lightsabers. We've actually got a lightsaber client. So you can see that this post did really well. It had over 100 comments. And the reason I did so well was because I asked other writers to share what they write about. And you might be thinking, well, why did you engage your competitors? But by commenting, if a competitor of mine comments on this post, their audience is probably going to see it. So all I'm doing is just like hijacking the news feed of my competitors. Also, your industry might not be the same, but my industry, we're all not really competitors. We're all very close. And if I get a writing job, I might send it to somebody else. And we're not a hugely competitive industry. So, and I've got a lot of writers on my feed. So that's how I got 100 comments of people sharing about everything from belly button fluff to portaloos and like things that we've written about in the past, which I think and also the content of the post is good because it's easy to read. It shows that I'm a flexible writer and I can write about anything. I don't just have to write about marketing and business and LinkedIn. I can also write about beer gardens. I can do B2C, I can do B2B. So I think that's really, really interesting. The next one is the point of tell your story. And if you've got the handout, you'll be able to read this a bit clearer, and you can take some time and look at these posts. I'm not saying they're like the best posts in the world, but they're just some of the posts that I posted in the last couple of weeks that have done well. Back in a couple of years ago, my partner Craig, who now runs my business with me, lived in Australia, and then we had to come home because my mum was ill. And I talk about this a lot. I'm very open about this topic. And it's just a little success story about how the business came to be. And it's actually a 2-year-old business now as of this week. So people really like to see that because they like to see vulnerability. If you're comfortable with sharing vulnerability, they like to see how businesses came to be, you know, a business. They like to see your background. So I've worked in Sydney, which is actually where I did the pet cremations work. I worked while I was traveling, and often the dogs are a big attraction. So if you're a pet person, I actually had an inquiry from a client who said, I was head to head with another client on the website and she picked me because of the dogs on the website. So I've actually got the dogs on my about page as like members of staff, which is not the most original thing, but it was just the thing that like put me slightly above a competitor, was just the fact that it felt like she felt like I was like human and relatable. So that's a really, really good point about relatability, authenticity, vulnerability, if you're comfortable with sharing it. And the last post was just a joke post about how obviously I write content for clients all day, every day, and I find it really easy. And I think anyone who runs a business will totally feel like this, especially marketing people or videographers or photographers. It's really easy to plan your client content because you're accountable to the client, but it's very difficult to actually make your own marketing strategy, make your own content, remember to post on your own LinkedIn. So yeah, every Tuesday, I send a newsletter every Wednesday, and it always gets written at 10 o'clock at night on a Tuesday. Mark's saying that his 2 dogs are administrators. Yeah, my dogs are Chief Canine Officer and his assistant. And to be honest, he's pretty buzzing with the fact that he's got me some work in the past few months as well. So he's milking that. But yeah, this was a good post because it was relatable, because anybody in any business, doesn't matter if it's not creative or marketing, finds it so much easier to deliver the client side than it do to deliver their own work. So even though this isn't a salesy post, it's just a post that I came up with last minute off the hook and just put it on and got a few comments. So these are just some examples of some posts that I've worked recently. Yeah, exactly. Jill saying that she's a chartered qualified marketer and she struggles with her own social media. I know exactly what you mean. It's just really, really hard to actually get that accountability and feel like you can confident enough to say what you want to say, especially when it's under your own name, which I think is why people struggle with LinkedIn and Twitter, because you're not speaking on behalf of your business. You are, but you're also speaking on behalf of yourself. Alicia is saying, if you have a lull in LinkedIn post, does it heavily affect your ranking? It does to an extent, because you need to post like regularly. So I say regularly. I mean, LinkedIn has also said they reckon that like 20 times a month. So what that's saying is most weekdays, but actually weekends do quite well. So if you can post 3 to 5 times a week, a couple of times a week, anything less than that, so anything less than once a week is just not enough, and you're going to disappear into irrelevance. So it can feel quite a lot of pressure to think of something to say every few days or every day. But sometimes a post like this, which is something that I put very little thought into, can end up being one of the best performing posts. So it's just about getting over the fear factor and the confidence and just posting it and just thinking, right, well, that's a thing that happened today. If you worked with a client and you help them to do something, just put them on. Martin says, do emojis put people... In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to whiz through the slides and I'm going to do the questions at the end, because otherwise I'm hopping around. So I am going to answer those questions. Quickly, how the LinkedIn algorithm works. The algorithm is the process, as with Facebook and Twitter, kind of has an algorithm now, but not as much. LinkedIn, Instagram algorithm is probably the most evil. The algorithm is the process that LinkedIn uses to define what content people will see, and that's using AI. So there's no way of us knowing exactly what it's doing, and there's been ways to cheat the system, but you've got to imagine that the algorithm is a person, instead of just thinking, right, well, I'll join a pod and I'll just quickly get engagement, because eventually LinkedIn's going to get too smart. What you need to do is think, if LinkedIn was a person, how would I speak to them? If LinkedIn was my client or my competitor, which is the way that I like to think of it, how would I like to be seen? The newsfeed if you remember the social media from back in the day, newsfeeds used to be chronological, but now it's this kind of top or popular, ill-defined way of seeing content. No one really knows what it means. Everything we know about the algorithm comes from testing. It's assumptions. So things that I have said in the past about how to share links, if you've been in any of my past presentations, you'll be thinking, oh, Ellen said in the past to share a link in the top comment of a post, and now I'm saying don't do that. So that's another reason why I offer this small membership platform, because it means that people can be kept up to date with what's changing. My last point is that I'm not telling you what to do, but some people will have engagement pods, which is like a group chat where everyone agrees to comment on everyone's posts as soon as they're posted. I personally think it doesn't work, because the algorithm's getting too smart. If you have the same people commenting on all your posts all the time, it becomes spammy, and LinkedIn's gonna like be aware. Facebook's already aware that if the same people are commenting on your business posts repeatedly, those posts are going to be penalized, because it thinks you're like in a pod or spammy. So that's one thing. When I post on Facebook, like the first comment is always like my mother-in-law, and I'm not in a pod with her. She's just my number one fan. So it looks like I'm asking her to comment, and Facebook is starting to identify those people. So I would say LinkedIn's going to get there. So just try not to cheat the system if you can. Also, it's really obvious. Okay, moving on quickly because I haven't got a lot of time. The golden hour, I've talked about this, but it's the first hour. This is what inspires people to join pods and to try and cheat the system. It's the idea that the first hour is vital. But if you post something good, if I just go back to those posts, if you post something good like this, which has a good question on the end, it encourages people to reply. Within the first hour, you'll get comments and you'll get replies. And especially if you are just starting out, it's going to take a couple of weeks before you start to get an audience. And also, the other thing is that you need to comment on other people's posts in order to get that engagement and to get that rapport up. So if get your clients on there, get people you've worked with in the past on there, get past colleagues, get people on there if you're not connected with them already. Grow your network with people that you know or have worked with in the past, and then comment on their posts with insightful, interesting comments. Don't just say good work, because I mean, I've talked about the golden hour already, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but it just means within the first hour, it's really important that you get comments. This is the most important thing. Comments are the highest form of currency on LinkedIn. So reactions are the equivalent of like likes. I know you can do like applause or intrigue and stuff now, but a comment is way more valuable. So if I post and I get 3 comments and 10 reactions, and then my other half Craig posts and he gets 10 comments and 3 reactions, like the other way around, his post is seen to LinkedIn as being more valuable, and he will get more views and more comments, and it'll get sent out to more people. Because as of right now, LinkedIn thinks comments are like the best. So you want to end your post with questions. You want to end your post with something that's going to get people to go from being like a lurker to a commenter. And then you want to post on other people's comments on other people's posts. And I know it can seem like a lot because you think, God, I'm trying to run a business and I haven't got time to go on LinkedIn all day. But if you spend 20 minutes a day while you're having your morning cuppa, scrolling through your LinkedIn feed, and instead of the posts that you would normally like, just quickly put the question. Just quickly put the question. I'm going to answer Sean's last question. I'm going to answer the questions at the end, but I have got an answer to that as well. What was I going to say? So just basically comments work. It's your best form. Try and comment on other people's posts. They will comment on yours back. It's a slow burn, but it works. And like I say, there's a few questions in there, so I'll do those at the end. Oh, this is an example. Also, if people have commented on your post, so you got 10 comments and you haven't replied to those comments, you have to reply. In my opinion, you should reply to everyone's comments on your post, because it returns your post back to relevance. So especially if it's a 2 or 3 day old post, it will bring it back up. And you want to nurture those comments. So you want to reply quite quickly, because I've just read recently an experiment from another LinkedIn trainer who left it a couple of hours before he was replying to comments, or a couple of days, I think. And it wasn't working. So you need to be replying quite quickly. You can see it took me like a day to reply to some of these. That was 6 days. That was 5 days. Sometimes people just comment and be like, really good, interesting post. Just reply saying thank you so much. Even if it's not like, an intriguing thing, just reply with every time. Because even if you're not playing the game of the algorithm, if people have took the time to comment on your post and you haven't replied, it's a bit rude. So, and it's fine. It's frustrating when you comment on someone else's post and they don't reply. Yeah, Sean's right. It's about dopamine. It's about like that hit of like someone's commented, you comment back, and you can start a conversation with that person. And that person might in the future, start thinking, actually, yeah, I need a copywriter. Didn't I have a chat with one the other day? And then you could be that person. Okay. This is a diagram that I made that I showed a few times. So this is how to work out what kind of posts you're going to post. I've talked about how to post. I've talked about how to structure your post, how to get comments, but you're probably thinking, well, what am I supposed to write about? If you imagine this Venn diagram on the left-hand side, you can go away and do this as well if you want. Think about your industry, your discipline, and what services you provide. And on the right-hand side, you're going to think about what people actually care about. I filled this out so it makes more sense. On the left, I'm going to say, I do copywriting, web design, LinkedIn marketing, digital. I talk about personal branding. These are some things that I talk about in my professional life or services that I provide. And I know that people care about my audience, which is other businesses. So if your audience is consumers, you can think about what the consumer cares about. My audience is other businesses. So I know businesses care about making more money. They care about their reputation and what people think of them. They care about how to grow their business, and they care about not coming across as like stupid, and especially with technology. So in this bit in the middle, there's a lot of posts that I could write. So I could write about how good copywriting can make you more money. I could write about how the right kind of web design could support a business growth, or could support trust and opinions about what people think. So I've got an example post here. This is slightly different. I've just realized that I didn't update this slide, and it says I build websites, but I do build websites, but this is an example. I've used the example in this slide that used to be in the slide a lot of times, so I just changed it this morning. So you'll see if you follow a copywriter, they might put something on like blogging is great for business. If you need a blog writer, get in touch. It's like, great. Like I've achieved nothing by reading that. Like it's boring. It's a sales post. It doesn't explain why it's important to hire a writer, what the benefit is, why you should hire someone and not do it yourself. It's just like, it's just like, it's very meh. So if I wanted to write about blogging and why it's important to hire a professional instead of do it yourself, this is the sort of post that I could put. Blogging is just writing a few hundred words about a topic that interests your audience, right? Well, not quite. Actually, there's a lot more to blogging. A great blog post will target your keywords. It's relevant to a current news story or evergreen topic. It's up to date with trustworthy stats. It's accessible to all users. If you're struggling to get started with blogging and you're wondering why your posts aren't getting any traction, you know where I am. So this is still a salesy post, and I'm still saying in this post that I'm a blog writer because I am. But what I'm doing is I'm highlighting, if you imagine that Venn diagram from the start, I'm highlighting some of those areas of things that people care about. So people care about making more money, growing their business, and they want to know why, they should hire someone and not do it themselves. And if you work in a creative industry, you'll find that a lot of people say, well, I do that thing myself. And you need to say, well, this is the reason why. And sometimes it can be about highlighting the negative. So it can be about highlighting the risk of not hiring a professional, or the risk of not hiring, of not picking somebody who knows exactly what they're doing. So yeah, this post here, if I were to post this, my 3 hashtags on the end, I could use these little bullet points as like emojis, or I could use the pencil emoji or something. This highlights the weight behind blogging while also demonstrating why it's important to hire a professional. So this is a useful post. I could post that today if I wanted to. Okay, I've got a couple of minutes. I would do a writing prompt, but it's quite a lot of questions. So you can take this writing prompt away with you. I'm not going to give you the time to do it now like I normally would, but this is a very good writing prompt that I've used a lot of times, and it creates really, really good content. So we're going to talk about professional career, not just your industry, but anything, if you run your own business, or if you have just started in your industry, or if you've moved over from another industry. You get a lot of writers who used to be teachers. You get a lot of web designers who used to work in IT. So, talk about your journey. And I'm going to ask you, what is a common, you put some in the chat actually if you've got answers, but what is a common misconception about your industry / your job, and how does that differ from reality? So what you're doing here is, Jason, you can download the presentation in the handout section. I've already put it in there as a PDF, so you can get that really easily. What is a common misconception? So normally, if you were in the webinar, which I do every month for my members, I will give them a couple of minutes, and then we'll have a chat because we've got 12 members, so that's the same people every month. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share my answer to this one. So here's my example about my misconceptions. I've talked about, obviously I do LinkedIn content and LinkedIn training, and a big misconception about LinkedIn is that it doesn't work for B2C, so business to consumer marketing. It only works for B2B. And this is just me being a sarcastic person. I'm basically saying that LinkedIn doesn't work for B2C because when someone goes to work, they switch off their brain. They never think about anything else. That's obviously not true. B2C marketing can work really well on LinkedIn if it's done right. And just because you might sell a product to a consumer, it doesn't mean that LinkedIn isn't where your audience are, because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. So B2C, if you're a B2C marketer, your audience is anyone, it could be anyone, whether they're working in a business or whether they're not. So this is just a little LinkedIn users are people too. That's what I'm trying to say there. And I think it's really important, because what that says is that the misconception is that, like I say, LinkedIn doesn't work for B2C, but actually it does. And there are some really great B2C marketers on LinkedIn. If you follow, there's a gentleman called Craig Brooks who sells, double glazing and conservatories, which is not like two people in their homes. So he's not B2B, he's B2C, and he's one of the most interactive with and well-known people on LinkedIn, yet he's selling to a consumer. So it just shows that misconception is there, and this post is just highlighting that. So hopefully that will give you some inspiration to go away and think about what are some misconceptions about my industry, what are things that people think that aren't true, and then maybe write a post about it if you wanted. So to conclude this, I'm going to conclude, and then I'm going to scroll back into the chat and answer some questions. Build relationships with people on LinkedIn, inside and outside of your industry. So some people will get connection requests and they'll just reject them because they think, well, I don't need that person. That person's not going to buy from me. But you just don't know, because that person's sister might need someone and they might refer you. So my attitude is I accept all connection requests, and then if they're spammy or annoying, then I'll just delete them afterwards, because you just never know where a referral could come from. And if you're in network B2B, then you'll know that it's not always just, I need that service, you're the person. It can be a friend or a relative or a referral that can come through maybe a non-traditional means. Be authoritative and helpful. You're the expert in your area, but if you've made a mistake or you're wrong, then it shows the human side. So often I'll give these presentations and I'll say, 2 weeks ago I said to do this, don't do that anymore. Make your product or service seem absolutely necessary to the success of your audience, and negativity bias works. So what I'm saying here is, like, it works great with web design, is that instead of me saying you should buy a website from us because we make good websites, it's what I could say is that if your website isn't secure, built by a professional, on brand, accessible, then you risk alienating your audience. So that is me saying negativity bias. It's saying, it's highlighting the risk of not doing something as opposed to the positives of doing something. And human psychology shows that negativity bias works often more. And finally, don't take yourself too seriously. I personally don't. That's my brand, is that it's not a serious brand. So some people have got a much more serious brand than me, or they don't want to come across as sarcastic or jokey as me. That's fine. You can still do really, really well on there, but you do need to have a little bit of fun. So I'll do a little bit of a quick sell. So if you go on my website, which I've put in the top of the chat, but Content by the Sea is my business. If you go on there, and the top, there's a LinkedIn button. You can download a list of 20 writing prompts for free. So that's stuff like that misconceptions post. There's a list of 20 things that you could potentially post about. And then also you can go on there if you want to join. You can just join it automatically and cancel anytime. I don't manage the payments. It's through a third party. A LinkedIn toolkit, what you get is you get an ebook to download. We have a webinar every month, usually towards the end of the month. So if you join now, you would get invited to the February webinar. And it's stuff like this, but more interactive because it's on Zoom. So we chat to each other. We talk about our most successful posts. We talk about our concerns, our risks, our worries. And then we do writing prompts. So everyone goes away with some stuff to write about that month. And you also get access to the community, which is a private community just with us. And you can rewatch the blogs. There's a typo on there that I keep meaning to change. You can rewatch the webinars from past. So if you join now, you can rewatch all the webinars from last year, and you get updates. And it's only 15 quid a month, so you can't really complain. Any questions? Let's scroll back up to the questions. I've got, if you have a lull, I've answered that one. Do emojis put people off? I mean, I can only answer for myself. I think if you use the right emojis, like I posted that, oh, Janet, my website is Content by the Sea. Let's go back to the beginning of my presentation and you'll be able to see. That's my business name there, Content by the Sea. There you go. Emojis. I mean, I think there are some emojis that are inappropriate for LinkedIn if you're not, you don't want to use them. But things like that, those like colored circles, they just look like bullet points and they work quite nicely. You can do you can do faces, but you don't have to. You can just use the kind of nondescript ones just to draw a bit of color and attention, especially if you have brand colors that are specific to your brand. You see, my brand colors are like blue and yellow, so I could use the blue and yellow circles. Hannah says, can you schedule posts on LinkedIn? You can't on LinkedIn, but you can use like a third-party tool called Buffer or Hootsuite. It can be difficult because they reckon that Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram are penalizing people who are using third-party tools to schedule. Facebook and Instagram, you can schedule within the platform. LinkedIn, you can't. So I haven't done enough experimentation to tell you whether it's a good idea to schedule on LinkedIn or not. But I personally don't. That's more because I don't because of that post about how I just do everything on the fly rather than not having time. Alicia says, I was sharing links in the comments. Yeah, so 6 months ago, maybe around 6 months to a year ago, LinkedIn was penalizing people who were putting links to external places, so your own website or the BBC or anywhere really in the post. So people started trying to hack that by putting it in the top comment instead. And now LinkedIn has said that if you put a link in the comment on your own post, that you will be penalized for that. And actually some of the external links are working fine now. I shared my newsletter. I'm not sure if it's actually in my example post, but I've gone back to sharing. I've gone full circle and I've gone back to, I think that was the newsletter link, I'm not sure, but I've gone back to sharing just links normal, and it's actually working fine. So I think LinkedIn might have gone full circle on that. So just post links as normal. That's what I'm saying as of right now. Sean says, what if you ask a question in the comments, like in YouTube? Yeah, like if you're the first person to comment on your post, LinkedIn is looking like it's penalizing you. So try and put the link try and put the question in the post, because especially the other thing with putting the link in the comments is that somebody could share your post and anything that's in the comments is like lost in the share. So that's really frustrating. If you said link in the comments and then, you know, your other half or your business partner shares that post, the link's lost. So yes, that's the thing. I'm just going back to the question. Yeah, my posts are aimed at, Martin says, people in New Zealand and in the UK. The golden hour is nearly impossible. I would just say try it out. Just do what you can do. Post at different times of the day. Sometimes post at night. Sometimes post in the morning. Never post at the same time every day. Just try and like hack it, and then think as carefully as you can with regards to well, that one did well, and I posted that on a Friday night, so Friday night might be a good time because there are fewer people. There's fewer competition. People often ask what's the best time of day to post. There isn't one because your audience is online at a different time, but Monday morning is not a good time to post because the whole world is posting on a Monday morning, like back at work, and there's just too much competition. Alex says, I still get likes and comments 1 or 2 weeks after you post. Yeah, that's sort of I, and that I did with that one about this one was going on for like weeks. This is actually, it says 2 days, but I did that screenshot a while ago. Yeah, I was getting comments on that for ages. Can LinkedIn work for non-profits, charities? I think so, yeah. I help a company who do called Wagon Company. I actually take my dog to, not during COVID, but to care home to visit, and I help them with their LinkedIn. And what they're trying to do is get corporate involvement, especially if you are a charity or a non-profit that requires businesses to support you. Then yeah, but I think that it can work on there really well. LinkedIn loves human stories, so stories within the charity, people that you help or animals that you help or whatever kind of charity you are. I don't see why not. Just looking, how do you deal with connection requests that send you a sales message straight away or inappropriate messages? Inappropriate messages, I just delete them or block them. I've got a friend who actually shames them and puts a screenshot on and contacts the company. So if somebody's sending you appropriate messages and they work for a company, forward them to the company and say, do you realize that you have a member of staff that's sending inappropriate messages? The men on here might not be thinking, I've never had one, but as a woman, sometimes you do get these inappropriate messages. Sales ones, I just ignore them. And if they're really annoying, I'll delete them. Or I'll just say like, I mean, what I could do is I could promote my course and say, if you really want to know how to sell on LinkedIn, join my course, but I'm not that cheeky. But yeah, I would just say, don't do it. Like, don't immediately connect with people and then inbox them, because it just doesn't. One time I posted on LinkedIn and said, have you ever bought from anyone who sent you a cold message on LinkedIn? And there was no one who had said that they had done it. So just, it doesn't work. Al says, emoji hack is great. Thank you. How successful are LinkedIn business pages? LinkedIn business pages are currently not successful at all. They reckon that only between 4 and 6%. So the number 6% of your followers even see your posts. So if you have 100 likes, only 4 to 6 people are going to see your content. LinkedIn company pages are pretty much just a place to put ads on if you want to run advertising, and you can post on there sometimes just so that you don't look like you've disappeared. But all of the training that I do and all of the talks that I do are about your personal LinkedIn profile, because that is how you see, like, that is how you get seen and that is how you sell. As of right now, LinkedIn company pages, I mean, I just don't think that there's much point in them at all, other than if you want to run ads or just to have a presence on LinkedIn for SEO. Oh, Mark's saying he gets a lot of action on his business page. That's like really interesting, because like from what I've read, the algorithm doesn't favor those kinds of pages. So maybe if you invest a lot of time in them, one thing that I tell business owners that are marketing themselves is that you can only invest time in a couple of different platforms. You can't be on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn business page, Facebook business page, LinkedIn groups, everything all at the same time. Sean says, I repeat the same content on my business page, my personal page. I don't know if it's a waste of time, because I don't know if that would be seen as like duplicate spammy content, because I don't know how LinkedIn sees that. I couldn't confirm, but I know with Google, it knows if things are like repeated. So you might be seeing that Louise is saying she gets a lot of engagement on her business page. That's really good. I find that it just depends. Personally, I've seen and from what I've read on the algorithms and stuff, is that your reach is a fraction of what your reach is on your personal page. And you can share posts. Yeah, share posts from your company page. They've seen that sharing posts. The posts that are shared from somewhere else don't tend to do massively well. They're not going to hit thousands, but that's not to say that they might not once. And like I say, LinkedIn might be changing its attitude towards business pages now, because it's been a couple of months since that 4 to 6% stat, so that could be changing. But if you've only got time to invest in one thing, invest in your LinkedIn personal profile, especially if you're a business owner. I think I've answered all questions. I think somebody had said something about what's the difference between paid and free LinkedIn. I'm not sure if someone said that. Oh yeah, Lewis said, is there a benefit to premium? Personally, no. At the minute, the premium is still very much targeted towards recruiters. There is a tool called Sales Navigator, which helps to identify your leads, and you can send inboxes to them, but all that does is just send inboxes. So that's just really frustrating, because it's just the opposite of what I've just told you. Andrew says, I have a personal LinkedIn. Should I have a business one? What we're talking about is business pages. So it's it's the difference between a Facebook page and a Facebook profile. So on your profile, it should say works at, and then your business page. Thank you very much, everybody. Hopefully it's been really interesting. Should I put stuff on my personal profile? Put it on your personal profile. You need a business page so it says where you work, but just set it up and put a couple of posts on there, but don't worry about putting loads of posts on there. So I think I'm pretty much done. Thank you, everybody. I didn't actually expect so many people to come, so that's really, really nice. Remember that in the handouts, you can download all the slides as a PDF. And anybody that's just come in, you can go on my website and download 20 free writing prompts. Just go by my website, is contentbythesea.co.uk. You can go on my website, download 20 free writing prompts, or you can sign up to the membership, which is only 15 quid a month, and you normally have a webinar every month with the other members, and it's always the same people, so it's really nice. Consistency is really important, so that's why we do it that way. So thanks, everybody. I'm going to try and log off now. And yeah, handouts, check if there's anything in the Q&A that I missed. No. Okie doke. Thanks, everyone. Oh, hello, Wendy. Some of the people in here I know from my group, and other people are new people, but yeah. Thanks, everybody. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll do that now. I'll just send you my LinkedIn profile before I log off. That's me, so feel free to send me a connection request and I will accept it. And just drop me any messages if you get stuck. Thanks.